Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today is BookList Thursday. This is a video series I do with my friend Lindsey over at Lindsey's Little Library. And every Thursday we bring you some sort of list or book topic that we feel like talking about for the week. And this week we are going to be recommending some of our favorite nonfictions. Nonfiction November is a big thing that happens in the booktube community. A lot of people try to read nonfiction during November. Some people do it exclusively. Some people just try to read a couple. And we thought it would be a good opportunity to share some of our favorites with you in case you are planning to read some nonfiction in November. The first one I want to mention is Unbroken by Laura Hillenbrand. This is a World War II story about a man named Louis Zamperini who was a POW during the war. He flew on airplanes. He wasn't a pilot, but he was on the airplanes, and one of them went down, and he was taken prisoner. And kind of what he went through, his story is incredible, and I can't believe he survived what he did. It was very compelling the way that it was written. It felt like a historical fiction, but it was real. He even met Hitler because he was an Olympian runner, and he met Hitler at the Olympics. So that was interesting, and then ended up going to war against him. So yeah, it was so good, so well written. I actually just pushed this into the hands of one of our 8th graders at the school. He asked me specifically for some World War II nonfiction because he is very fascinated by that time period. And so I pushed this into his hands and said, this is one of my favorite stories of World War II, one of my favorite books written about it. And he's reading it right now. So we'll see. I hope he likes it. But we have the young adult version. There's a young reader's edition of this book. So that's what I gave to him to read. So yeah, but this is just one of the best nonfictions I've ever read. Another one of the best nonfictions I've ever read. Is this the best nonfiction? I mean, this whole stack I guess could count, but The Only Plane in the Sky, An Oral History of 9/11 by Garrett N. Gramp. I sobbed through this entire book. It is told in interviews and transcripts, and it is a timeline of 9/11, of what happened. I learned a lot in this book. I listened to it and read it at the same time, which I highly recommend. Some of the audio narrators are the real people. Some of them are voice actors, but it's heartbreaking. It's very, very heartbreaking. I literally was just ugly crying through the whole thing, which I usually do with 9/11 stuff anyway. But this was a whole nother thing. It's incredible. It's incredible. I can't even really say that much more about it. It's just, yeah, one of the best books I've ever read. Also one of the hardest books I've ever read. Okay. And then I have a memoir here, The Storyteller by Dave Grohl. This was so good. I love him. I went into this book liking him. I left this book loving him. He's so funny, you guys. Like, oh my gosh. And he's just someone I know that I could just sit down and have a beer with and just have a great time. I do like Nirvana a lot. I definitely listened to them when they were, active in the 90s. And I like Foo Fighters as well. I like their music a lot. So and when I read this when I was living in Virginia, and it was the same area. His mom was actually a teacher in the county that we lived in. It's Fairfax County, so it's a really, really big county, but that's where we lived. So it was really cool to hear him talk about the area and, DC, and I worked at the Barnes & Noble in the same city that he grew up in, which is really cool. So, yeah, it was really neat to kind of have that experience while I was living there. So I'm really glad that that's when I read it. But I absolutely loved this. I started I listened to this on audio, but a little bit into the audio, I bought it physically because I was like, I need this on my shelves. 1000%. It is so good. And the stuff that he talks about with Kurt Cobain in here is also a little heartbreaking because he still has a hard time talking about Kurt. It was a really, really hard time for him. So yeah, but it was fantastic. Another one that hit me a little bit on a personal level is The Stranger Beside Me by Ann Rule. This is about Ted Bundy. Now, Ann Rule is a very prolific true crime author, and she got her start with this book, I think. I don't know if this was like the very first book that she wrote, but this one really catapulted her because of the way that this is written, because Ann Rule actually knew Ted Bundy. They used to work together. So she had a very, very personal connection to him, even to the point where he reached out to her when he was in prison. How creepy is that? So the way that this is written is just such on a personal level. So it was really interesting that way. And I really enjoyed seeing her explore what she missed and what she didn't. And yeah, it was really interesting that way. And I learned a lot more about Ted Bundy and what he actually did. I had vaguely heard what he did, with the whole sorority thing at FSU. But I didn't know it was as bad as it was. Just getting those details in here was really hard. It was really, really hard to read what he did to those women. And learning about some of his other crimes and other murders that he committed as well. I wasn't aware of all that. You kind of hear more about FSU than anything because that was just the kind of big blowing point for him. And the way that this is a little bit on a personal side for me is that he was arrested in the same town that I went to college in Pensacola. That's where he was officially arrested and picked up on Cervantes Street, which I have walked down multiple times in downtown Pensacola. I'm just being out with my friends and stuff during college. So that was a little like, ooh, that's creepy. I did not know that. And he also, on a trip when I think after he left FSU and it was driving to Pensacola, he stopped and stayed at a hotel in Crestview, which is about 20 minutes from my house in Florida where I lived. All this happened before I was born. Let's put it into perspective, but still it's like, ew, that's creepy. Like, that's creepy. So his downfall happened right around the area that I'm from, which was like, ugh. But yeah, incredibly written. I want to read more Ann Rule for sure. I have a couple more of her books on my shelves already. So I will be doing that at some point, but this one was just absolutely fantastic. And my last recommendation is The Soul of an Octopus by Cy Montgomery. I loved this book so much. I was so fascinated. This is literally about octopuses and what they are like as creatures. And I learned so much about them. I was so fascinated. This really kind of started my whole love of the species. And I was just blown away about how intelligent they are. Like, these animals could take over the world. They literally could. They are so smart. And their habits and how they move and how they're able to move and how they live. And it's just, they're so fascinating to me. And reading this really kicked it off 100%. And Lindsey actually gave me this book for my birthday. So that was really cool too, to get this from Lindsey. And I absolutely loved it. And I still have such a fascination for octopus. And I've bought quite a few books about octopus since reading this, both fiction and nonfiction. But like, if there's tentacles on a cover, I'm immediately like probably going to grab it. So that is just something that has become a thing with me because of this book. So this one is just so good. Okay, guys, those are 5 nonfiction books that I have read and just absolutely loved and recommend all the time. These are very much for a general audience. And I hope you guys enjoyed that. So please head over to Lindsey's channel. I'll leave her link down below and see what nonfiction books she's going to be recommending today. And we'll see you guys again soon. Have a great day. Bye.